Welcome everybody. It's really nice to be together again, feeling that we've got this small group of connection with one another. And as we know, our interactions and connections with real people have a significant bearing on our health. Now, our focus through this term is on the chakras. So just to give you a little intro on what that's all about, besides our physical body that we can feel and see and sense, we can notice what sensations are going on for us inside. At a more subtle level, there's a whole system of energy flow and connections to our psyche that are well documented in the yoga tradition. So here comes somebody. I thought we were all here. So the yoga philosophers way back worked out that welcome, Lynn. We've just turned our microphones off to start the recording. So glad you've joined us. Way back, the yoga philosophers sort of intuited, I suppose, these structures, these centers rather, which they call the chakras. And the Indian philosophers were not the only ones to intuit or to come to the conclusion that we have energy centers inside us. There's a similar system in the Chinese tradition, and way back in the Egyptian traditional medicine tradition, there are illustrations. I've seen illustrations of figures of chakras in Egyptian philosophy. So it's as though it's a common experience, and we're going to learn a bit about them in this term. So it's thought that along the course of our spine, there are particular centers at specific locations that have unique connections and correlations with our inner self. And they've been depicted in a very symbolic sort of way. So I sent you an illustration of the symbolism for the first chakra. I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look at it. So I'll just sort of run through what is in that illustration. You can see the basic shape is a circle, and the circle represents the concept of a lotus. And this lotus has 4 petals, and the main geometric thing in the center is a yellow square. So that's the main symbolism of this first chakra, the one that's right down the base of our spine. The idea of it's represented by a yellow square is of the primary symbolism. And the yellow square is a symbol for earth element. So everything about our physicality, which is sort of dense and earthy, and our, I guess, the roots that we're planted in, the soil that we're planted in, our foundation is represented by that yellow square and earth element. Now, also in the image, there is this printout is pathetic because my printer was running out of ink. You can see it's so pale. Maybe you can make out there's a squiggly Sanskrit letter in yellow. So there's a straight line and a sort of 3 on its side. That is a Sanskrit sound symbol. So just like we have letter A, this is a letter representing the sound lung. And that's the sound connected with the base chakra, lung. And it represents physicality, earthy qualities, grounding, our foundation. also in this interesting image, there's a white elephant with 7 trunks. That's pretty interesting. And the white elephant, his name is Airavata. And in Indian ancient culture, the elephant was the workhorse, you know, did all the heavy labor, dragging building materials, you know, helping till soil, drag trees about, and so on. So the elephant represents, you know, physical activity and hard work. And then either side, there are 2 deities. And in this image, there's one which is a male riding on a swan, you can see on the left. And the other side, there's a female with 4 arms and various weapons. And they're there because they symbolize qualities of our mind. Now, different texts have different deities. You know, there's a bit of flexibility and variability according to which text you see. And I'm going to talk about a different one, rather than this fellow riding on a swan, who's Indra. I'm going to talk about the other male deity that's usually represented, called Bal Brahma, or young, youthful Brahma. So, you know, we're getting a bit curly and convoluted, but Bal Brahma signifies the useful, the potential. So on the one hand, we have our potential for becoming something, and the feminine deity on the other side, symbolizes our resistance. Oh no, I can't do that. Oh, that's too hard. Or, oh, I've always done it this way. I'll just keep it at, you know, at that. So there's, on the one hand, the potential for exploring new opportunities or for creating new things in our life. On the other hand, there's the sort of innate holding on tight to the way we've always done things, or the fear of tackling something new, or just being stuck in our ways. So there's a lot of symbolism packed into that little diagram. So each of the chakras has its own, well, we call these mandalas. And I haven't even sort of delved into the meaning of the 4 petals. We've got enough to cope with right now with all of that. So let's just work with the idea that if we can activate energy at our base chakra, at the base of the spine, then we're going to open to the possibility of forging a new way of doing things, and being aware that there might be some inner resistance, being okay with the idea that we have enough energy for, you know, the daily effort, the elephant qualities of, you know, dogged persistence, and that this yellow square can connect us to this feeling of being close to the earth. So let's just come up to stand with feet underneath us, so that we've got a sense of being really stable on the ground. I'll go back a bit. Just take your feet slightly wider. And take a breath in, just lift your hands about shoulder height, and then turn the palms down, come into a bit of a squat, as though you're pushing energy down through your legs and through your feet to the floor. And inhale, draw the energy upwards a little. And then exhale, bit of a squat, hands facing down to the ground, pushing the energy all the way to your feet. It's like our hands have the power of suction. Lifting the palms lifts the energy, and turning the palms down pushes the energy down through the legs and the feet. Just do that a few more times. Conscious of your feet on the floor, bare feet, I hope. Sending energy downwards through your hips and knees, down through the calves to the feet, and then pulling up from the earth and lift. Maybe we'll lift a little higher this time. So keeping your shoulders at whatever level is comfortable for you. Lift all the way as high as you can. And then spread the arms and we drop down into a great circle breath. So lower now, hands towards the floor, and draw the energy up the midline and standing up tall. Open the arms, open, gaze lifts. And then sinking down all the way to the floor. So continue with that little sequence a few more times, a great circle breath, and conscious of transmitting energy. As though your spine is hollow and energy can readily pass through that hollow spine. Just imagine that under your feet is a yellow square. It probably isn't, but picture in your mind a yellow square on the floor. One more great circle breath. Feet on the yellow square, pulling energy up, and let your hands rest over the center of your chest. And now we'll make some movements with the lower spine. So circling the hips around. And you notice if you, say, put one hand on your navel, one down near the pubic bone, that this axis between those 2 points is sort of swinging to and fro. And your core, the power, which sits somewhere just below the navel, is not moving much at all. It stays more or less in the same place. And we're circling around through the hips and then changing the direction. And we're going to do a back arch and then a forward bend. And as we exhale, we'll chant the sound for Muladhara mantra, Muladhara chakra, lung. So take a breath in, feet are under the hips now. Lift the hands higher. Lung. And then inhale. Oh, I forgot about the back arch. So let's take the hands around the hips, press the hips forward, breathe in. And then folding down, hands sliding down the backs of the legs into your forward bend. And then hands traveling up the inside legs as you breathe in. And take the hands around the pelvis, inhale, open the chest back, lung. Unwind the spine, hands sliding up the inside of the legs. One more back arch, hips forward, looking up. Lung. And just hang loose there for a moment. And make your way down to lie on your back We'll do a little hip loosening movement. So lying on your back on your mat. And take your right hand to your right. So you've got your feet flat on the floor. I'll turn this way. Knees are bent. We're going to take the right hand to the right knee and move that thigh around in a circle. We're just making sure that the hip joint is operating smoothly and it's well lubricated. And reverse the circles. And then change over to the left knee, move that leg around in a circle. And notice whether this side feels the same or is it different. And reverse the direction. And then both hands on both knees, circle knees together. So a little toning for the transversus abdominis, that low abdominal muscle. Reversing. And then lower your feet to the floor, straighten out the legs. Pause for a moment. Notice what are you feeling in terms of the effect of that movement. Then we're going to cross the left ankle over the right ankle and swing the feet. So the legs are squeezed together and my feet are rocking right and left and right and left. And your hips get up a bit of a rock as well. And so we're massaging across the buttocks and firming up the connections around the sacroiliac joints. So your arms are just resting comfortably wherever that is. And rocking vigorously, swinging your ankles from side to side. And then change the crossover. So now your right leg is on the top and the left leg is doing all the swinging work. So swing your feet, rotate the ankles, legs are squeezed together. Feel the massage. We're warming up the muscles, the connections across the back of the pelvis. And now let that go. Bend your knees, place your feet flat. And now change the movement to rocking the knees. So over to the right and then to the left. So we're more or less doing a wash rag movement, but perhaps a little faster than we often do. And notice the sensations. Bit of length through the belly. More massage across the glutes. And you're keeping your thighs together. And then come back to center, rest there. Notice what you feel. And then we're going to separate the feet slightly. So we have our knees bent, feet a little wider. And I'm going to keep the right leg still and just roll the left knee inwards. So there's an internal rotation of the left thigh. And then lift that knee up. And then I'll roll the right knee down towards the floor. So it's moving internally. And lift. And left side again rolls down. So the knee comes down towards the right ankle. and lift. And the same on the right. The right knee comes down towards the left ankle. And do that a couple more times. So it's slower and we're just exploring the range. Perhaps you're feeling a feeling of opening or lengthening inside the hip, the psoas. And then lift the knees. Pause there, see how you feel. And then roll yourself over, come to sit. And we're going to do this really silly non-yoga exercise that I call a bot walk. So I'm just sitting up and walking along on my backside. So jiggle one hip forward and then reverse, walking backwards. So we're really mobilizing our back of the pelvis, walking forwards, using abs to support us, and backwards. Oh. And then pause there, have a moment of rest. Notice the sensations around the hips, in the hip joints, in the thighs. And again, imagine that there's a hollow tube, like say a hollow stalk of bamboo from the base of your spine that you're sitting on. And you can draw breath and energy up and down through the hollow tube. Take a few breaths with that visualization in your mind. So as you breathe in, drawing breath and actions are about activating Muladhara chakra, which is located right at the base of the spine, sort of on the inner surface, if you can imagine that. The is below our waist, which connects across to the hips, and then below the sacrum is our little the joints of the tail, the vertebrae of the tail are pretty much together. But if you've ever had a fall on your coccyx, you will know exactly where it is. Let's bring the soles of the feet together. Do a little flexing. So hands holding the ankles. And then inhale, lift the knees higher. Exhale, tilting forwards. And your forearms, your elbows are pressing the thighs downwards. So just within a comfortable range, do a few like that. Exhale. And we'll add the mantra, Om Lung Namaha, salutations to the earth element. So breathe in and lift. Om Lung Namaha. Inhale, lift the knees. Om Lung Namaha. Two more. Om Lung Namaha. Om Lung Stretch the legs out straight, pause there. Take your focus to that point called Muladhara chakra, our energy center. If we can picture the spot in between the anus and the genitals at the front, but up inside somewhat. So we're sitting on the tip of the coccyx, and it's sort of on the inside of the coccyx. This is if we concentrate there, we're directing our meditation, our focus to Muladhara chakra. And then make your way to stand. Let's do a couple of standing poses. Again, connecting to the idea of earth, our base, our foundation. We'll begin with a side bend. So feet under the hips. Turn your head to the right, raise the right arm. Tilt to the left, look down to your feet. Open up the side of the chest on the right. And then inhale, watching that right hand. Bring it down again. And now watching the left hand. Lift overhead, lengthen through that left side as you tilt and look down towards your feet. And eyes are following. And we'll do that again. Inhale, lift. Exhale. Tilt over in that flat plane. So you're keeping your shoulders in a range that works for you. If your shoulders are restricted for whatever reason, then it might be a movement in front of the chest, but aiming for that same effect on stretching through the lateral part, the side of your chest. Let's do one more on the side that feels not quite so free. So for me, that's my left side. My right side feels quite open and mobile, but I think I'll do one more on the left. So keep your shoulder movement comfortable. And then release. Now turning along the length of your mat, we're going to do a variation of Warrior One. By now, you probably know this is a very useful pose, very useful asana with many variations possible. So I'll show you what we're going to do. We'll inhale and reach forward to grasp maybe some new potential, some new adventure in our life. And then on the exhale, we'll push our hands down to the earth in a grounding action. So bring into your mind maybe some new venture, some new hobby, some new activity that you've been thinking about. Are you ready to think about that seriously and make it happen? So inhale, reach forward, grasp that possibility, and then press the hands down flat as you straighten the front leg. So in your mind, welcome that new venture, pull it in towards your core, and then palms flat as you reconnect to the earth. One more like that. Welcoming the possibilities, pulling in close, and then straightening the leg, pushing the palms down. Let's stay in the pose for a few breaths. So reach forward and draw in close to yourself, shoulders down, elbows back. Stay for a few breaths, and your feet are really anchored. Legs are strong. Breath steady. And then push down. Step up. Excuse me, I'll just have a sip. Pause there. Compare the sensations in the right side with those in the left. Okay, second side. Step your left foot forward. Perhaps this idea of a new venture, a new direction, you haven't really fleshed out yet. So let this be an opportunity to take your thoughts towards some new direction. Grasp the opportunity. It's a new year, new possibilities, and then push down to the earth. So looking out, what is possible? Draw in close and then push down. Twice more. Open your mind. Bit of creative thinking. And then anchor down through your feet to the earth. One more. And we'll stay in the pose for a few breaths. Keep breathing. Chest is open. You're looking ahead fearlessly. Ready to tackle something new. And then push the palms down. Step the back foot forward. Make a few little hip circles. And we'll move into a goddess squat. So this time we have our feet along the length of the mat and toes turned out, feet a little wider. And then take your arms up, embracing our new term of yoga and coming down into a squat. Press your knees apart. So again, keeping the shoulders and arms at your comfortable range. So if this is too high for you, then maybe just, shoulder height would be fine. And instead of the cactus arms, pull the elbows back, hands in a fist of fire. So choose the option that suits you. Inhale. Press the knees apart. Feel your feet really grounded and connected to the earth. Again, inhale. Expansive. Exhale. Powerful. We'll do one more and stay in the squat for a few breaths. Expand and squat. Knees are spread wide. Thighs are strong. Support through the core. Steady breathing. Here comes the sun. Then release. Turn your feet so they're parallel and we'll fold down into a forward bend. So just lower your shoulders and you could sway your hands, both hands swaying across towards the right And then just wiping across towards the left. So one knee bends a little and we swipe over towards the second side. Using thighs, inner thighs stretching, swiping across the floor. And then come to the center and unwind the spine. Bring the feet in under the hips. Pause there. And think about in your life, what supports you? What's your foundation? You know, is it your family? Is it, you know, the circle of friends that you meet from time to time as much as possible? Is it your partner? Is it your dog? Is it your, you know, the connections that you have with your kids? What is your major support? Having a comfortable home that you've lived in for quite some time. I grew up in Brisbane, but I've lived in this house in Chifley now for more than twice as long as I ever lived anywhere else. So this house, this environment is part of my foundation, my family, my husband. You know, that's what supports me in who I am and what I do. What is it for you? Just take your mind to your own feeling of the support that you have in your life. The foundation, maybe there's a network, maybe there's an activity. The way you express yourself is integral to who you feel that you are. The way you write or sing or garden, what is it that, you know, is integral to who you are? And once again, we're going to take a back and we're going to raise the arms up and come into a forward bend, chanting the mantra Lang, Om, Lang, Namaha, salutations to the earth element. So feet under the hips, take a breath in, lift up your chest. Om, Lang, Namaha. And draw the hands up the inside of the legs, tracing the meridian for the intestines over the chest, cross over your chest, slide up to the elbows, then interlace the fingers, turn the palms up. Om Lang Namaha. Fingers to the inside of the legs, inside thighs, belly, crossing over the chest, sliding up to elbows, interlace, stretch up or out in front if that suits your shoulders better, and then forward bend with the mantra. Hands down the backs of the legs. Om Lang Namaha. One more. Reaching up. Let's all interlock our fingers in front and push out away in front of the chest. And then hands to the backs of the legs. Om Lang Namaha. And then hands to the floor, make your way down to sit. And sit with both feet folded to the left. So I've got my right foot close to the left knee, left leg stretched out behind, and I'm going to sit up tall and then take a little rotation to the right. And then return to the front, take a breath in, sit taller. So it's a bit lopsided. And then again, use that twisting capacity of the oblique abdominals and twist to the right. So we're not pulling around using the arms as levers. Come back to the front, hands on the belly, breath in and exhale, rotate to the right. And you could reach your arms further forward and bend elbows, chest coming down low. And then push through the hands, lift up and straighten, and take your legs out in front. And we'll take a symmetrical movement, a forward stretch, coming down, chest towards the thighs. And then inhale, sit up, and we'll change our legs, swinging them around towards the right. See how this feels. Take a breath in. So without using your arms, rotate from your core around to the left. And inhale back to the front. Exhale, rotate towards the left, just within the range that is available to you. Back to the front. Exhale, rotate to the left and walk your hands down away from your hips and lower the chest towards the floor. And then press through the hands, lift up, and once again, bring your legs out stretched in front. Give the legs a shake. Shall we do that one more time? Folding legs to the left, take a breath in, sit up very tall, rotate to the right, and we'll lower the chest down. So your palms are flat, elbows bending as you take your chest towards the floor. And then press through the hands, lift up, swing the legs out straight, breath in, fold forward. Inhale, raise the chest, swing the legs to the right. So my left foot is near my right knee. Take a breath in, tall. Exhale, rotate to the left and fold your chest down low. Press through the hands, sit up. Bring the legs forward, give them a shake. And we take Paschimottanasana. So inhale, reach up. Exhale, tilt your trunk towards the thighs and stay for a few breaths. Take a breath, lift, and swing around to lie on your back. We'll do a few bridge movements. So still focusing all of our work around the lower part of the spine. Lie on your back, feet flat. So the first movement is very subtle. Your feet are in front of your hip joints, hands are by sides. And I want you to just think of curling your coccyx, your tail up from the floor. So maybe your hips don't lift at all. It's more like a pelvic tilt. So press your feet into the floor, curl your tail upward. So you feel movement just around the back of the pelvis. And then when you release, pelvis is flat on the floor. Maybe there's a little space behind the waist. And then exhale, tilt the pelvis so the tail lifts up. And next time we'll lift slightly higher. So inhale, let your pelvis tilt down so there's a space under the waist. And then exhale, press into your feet. Lift the pelvis off the floor this time. Maybe just a centimetre or two. And then exhale, release back down to the floor. And inhale, let the pelvis tilt, a gap underneath the waist. And then let your pelvis tilt backwards, press through the feet, lift a little higher. So we're gradually adding more effort to the lifting action. So try a few more like that. So it's a very minimal bridge action so that you can really focus your attention on the sensations in that lower part of your spine. And it's a symmetrical movement. We're using the same power in left and right sides. And then if you wish, do a last bridge action and make it as strong, as high or as low as you wish. So feet line up with the hip joints and feel the power that you have in that lifting action to take your hips away from the floor. It might be just a little, and then you're going to hold that pose, hold that position, and connect your mind to the sensations that you feel in that lifting action and maintaining the stability. Steady breath, steady work. And then gently, gradually release the hips back to the floor. Hug your knees in close to your chest. Move around a bit if you wish. And take a wash rag movement. So feet to the floor, spread your arms out wider at shoulder level. And at whatever pace suits you. Both knees rolling to one side. And on the opposite side, your palm faces up and your head is turned to look to that upturned palm. So at the pace which just suits you, where you're at right now. Do the same number on each side. And then we're going to do a little massage. So lying on your back with your knees bent, massage down inside the hip bone. So we're massaging on the right side to begin with. So start up under your ribs and come down, feel that hip crest on the right and a little valley coming down into the groin. Massage the groin, there's lots of lymph nodes there. And then roll your right knee over towards the left a bit so you can reach around and massage your glute and moving up into the low back. So knuckles or fingertips, massaging all around the gluteal, the big buttock muscle, and reach up around your waist. Oh, there's a bit of extra flesh there in my case. Squeeze in around your waist and lower back. And then realign so you're symmetrical. And left hand massaging now on the left side. So starting up under the ribs and pressing in against the inner surface of your hip, down into the groin. So encouraging the movement of lymph through those lymph nodes. And then let your left knee roll to the right so you can reach behind, massage your glute, buttock, all around the hip joint. And coming up to the waist and lower back. Fingers and thumbs, massaging. And then release, roll back to lie comfortably. And if you'd like to move into Shavasana, if you want to grab some support, some warmth, if that's necessary, to make yourself super comfortable for our final Shavasana. So lie in whatever position helps you to be completely comfortable. And visualize that perhaps underneath your hips, there's a yellow square, symbol of the earth element. So let your body, your mind quieten. Take your focus to the first chakra at the base of the spine, Muladhara. Associated with the element earth. Everything that's stable, everything that's fruitful, life supporting. Your own support, your foundation of your healthy life. And imagine breathing healing energy into the first chakra. As though with every breath, you're bringing in the energy of healing. And that healing energy is warm. And the healing warmth diffuses all around the pelvic bowl, the buttocks, the thighs. And while you rest and visualize the spread of healing energy into the first chakra, I'll chant the mantra. Homage to our earth element. Om Lang Namaha. Om Lang Namaha. Om Lang Namaha. Feel that you are immersed in the healing energy at Muladhara chakra at the base of your spine. Your foundation is secure and steady. Perhaps there are possibilities, new directions ahead. Be aware of any resistance that comes from the self, which is embedded in habits. Allow yourself to be open to new possibilities. So having allowed yourself to open to new possibilities, to allow yourself to expand beyond your limitations, perhaps this brings a feeling of more freedom, new potential. When you're ready, take a little gentle movement, a bit of a stretch. Move in any way that you'd like to. So when you're ready, return to sit. And I have a quote for you. Perhaps you noticed this week, in the last week, the passing of a much revered Vietnamese Buddhist monk called Thich Nhat Hanh, H-A-H-N. He was banished from Vietnam in the era of the Vietnam War, because he advocated to the Vietnam government that they strive for peace, whereas at that time the Vietnamese were all out fighting against, the communist Vietnamese were all out in an all-out war against the other side and the US and Australian troops. Thich Nhat Hanh was banished from Vietnam, and he established, I guess you'd call them ashrams, Buddhist colonies, mainly or beginning in France, called Plum Village, and then other comparable centers were established in many other parts of the world. And he was a prolific writer, and he has had this particularly articulate way of expressing the idea that we're all connected, where our energy is simply part of the continuum of the energy of everything, that you or I share the same energy, that everyone in Chifley and Canberra and ACT share the energy, and people on this planet Earth are all just part of the continuum of energy and consciousness. And he calls it, instead of saying that we are human beings, he liked to say we are interbeings. That is, we're interconnected. We're not sort of separate individuals. We're all interbeings, I-N-T-E-R, interbeings. So here's a quote which connects us beings all living on this planet Earth. And he mentions our connection with the earth. He says, you carry the earth within you. She's not outside of you. Mother Earth is not just your environment. In that insight of interbeing, it's possible to have real communication with the earth, which is the highest form of prayer. That's cool, very thought-provoking and interesting to me. I'll read it to you again so you can get a grip. You carry the earth within you. She's not outside of you. Mother Earth is not just your environment. In that insight of interbeing, it's possible to have real communication with the earth, which is the highest form of prayer. Right now, the earth seems to be leaping out at us. All this growth is phenomenal, and it's sort of easier to consider that idea of communicating with the earth. So thank you, everyone, for sharing our little class today. Let's just finish by saying Om Shanti to one another. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Thank you all for sharing our class. And I'd really like to go back to the idea of someone offering to end our class each day. So next week, we'll be thinking about the second chakra, which is sort of sacrum level, more about water and fluidity. So instead of earthy qualities of grounded and steadiness, we'll be considering second chakra connections to adaptability, fluidity. Any volunteers to end our class next week? Oh, yes, no. Looks like I'll have to do it for you. So I'll
do it, Pam.
Oh, thank you, Lynn. Fantastic. So I'll end the recording. I've just remembered.